In May 2011, two high school friends and self-identifying film buffs saw the movie Thor together in theaters. These men promptly went their separate ways and mysteriously didn't communicate for a decade. Today, still obsessed with movies, they reunite as podcasters of fortune with the mission to tackle the movies and debates they missed out on for 10 years. On this podcast, they are always catching up. Happy New Year, everyone! It is officially 2022, but as always, me and my good friend Aaron Cohorst are stuck in 2011. It's like a bad sci-fi movie. It's 2011 all the time.
We'll eventually get to 2012, right?
That's the goal. That's the dream. But
the world ended in 2012. Oh man. Sometimes I feel that way. I feel like we're just stuck. I cannot believe it's already 2022 right now.
Oh no, it's insane. 2022. It doesn't sound like a real year. It sounds like a made up year. Like that's a future thing. That's not happening. No, it's here. It's here. But
are we living? So we're living in the 20s now. Is this the Roaring 20s? Is that what they?
Well, we're coming off a horrible pandemic. So
we're coming off. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I was just saying. That's one thing the 20s, both the 1920s and the 2020s have in common, was a pandemic had happened right before or right then. So anyway, this is catching up with Aaron and Daniel, and I'm Daniel.
And speaking of pandemics, it's a perfect lead-in to what we're talking about today. Yeah,
it is. It absolutely is.
We'll get into it, but seeing part of that was a little bit like this is kind of hitting a little too close to home right now. But
so following our last conversation about the July 2011 film Cowboys and Aliens, our next subject is August 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which came out the week after Cowboys and Aliens. So on our journey on this podcast, this is a first. Oh, got your copy.
Yeah,
got your Blu-ray copy.
I physically own this movie.
Okay, now the question is, do you regret owning it? Or are you glad you own it?
No, I own the trilogy. Okay. This is one of the best trilogies of all time, in my opinion. So.
Okay. All right. We'll get into that.
Yeah, I'll say it. So.
All right, but no, this is a first for me anyway. I did not see this movie when it came out in 2011. I had not seen it in the last 10 years. So this is the first time I'd ever watched this movie.
Did you have any? Had you seen any of the other ones?
Mm-mm. Well, like I said, I think maybe I saw the Mark Wahlberg movie back in 2001.
So this is your introduction to Planet of the Apes.
Basically. Okay. I've seen clips of the original Charlton Heston stuff. I know what happens. I know the twist. So, but yeah, this is gonna be an interesting conversation. I have fewer notes for this movie because it was I think my first time watching it. I wanted to pay attention to what was going on rather than type. But
yeah,
before we get into Rise of the Planet of the Apes, we got to get in the time machine. So, all right, Aaron, you drive this time. You take the keys.
You don't want me driving, especially if we're going back to 2011. That was a rough time for me. So I think drive. I'll just hang out in the back seat. We don't have Einstein, but Zeus is right next to me.
Okay.
So
all right,
we'll just chill in the back, and you can take the DeLorean.
All right, okay. We're getting in the time machine. Closing the door. All right, Aaron, it's August 5th, 2011. What is the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100 on August 5th, 2011?
I'm terrified to see what you're about to be playing on this radio.
Well, if this radio worked, it would be playing Party Rock Anthem.
Okay.
It was the number one song in America, according to Billboard, this week.
I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that.
What could be worse? What could be worse? Honestly,
a lot of things. a lot of things could be worse than that. I mean, I feel like if you play that at, a wedding now, that'll still get a decent reaction, get some people on the floor and dancing.
Maybe. All right. So as has become your favorite segment on the show, and kind of my favorite, it's old news time.
Yes.
News that was news in the week of August 5th, 2011. We got a lot this time. Like, I was kind of impressed.
I can't wait to like break it. Like, we're talking about one thing and then it's actually relevant, in the future. We're like, oh, hey, we know this. And then, see what comes out of it.
When we catch up with the news of when it loops back in on itself and we're talking about news from 2022, that's gonna be, wait, haven't we done this already?
Exactly.
But
that's man, if we get to the point where we're talking about 2022 and we're talking about movies that we're talking about the trailers of, oh man,
that's when we shut it down. It's like, oh, okay, this is it. It was a good run.
What we can do, if these are saved, we can actually just play what we talked about. Or possibly have conversations with our past selves. So
here's the audio commentary for our podcast.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, so yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So August 5th, 2011, Warner Brothers released the first official photo of Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, which featured her in her Catwoman outfit riding the Batcycle. So the drum beat towards The Dark Knight Rises had started by this point.
Was it the actual Bane theme? Was that what we were hearing?
Maybe. Couldn't hear it over Bane's voice though. So, okay. All right. Also, second, an item I saw on Slash Films website featuring was about Gareth Edwards, who at the time was in the process of working on a new movie that wouldn't ever get made, but. And this story, the person who wrote it said, my good sources tell me that the still untitled project is about a young human child, probably around 5 years old, and a robot who travel across the galaxy in search of mankind's origin in a world void of humanity and filled with robots. Sounds pretty awesome, right? Gareth is pitching this project as, quote, a robot Star Wars. So, again, this movie didn't get made, but Gareth Edwards would get to make a Star Wars movie within the next 5 years, as he would go on to direct Rogue One. So I thought that was
I don't know. I'm just thinking about like Lone Wolf and Cub with robots and that's, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of Gareth Edwards movies. Sorry, My dog is kind of going crazy right now and jumping in my lap. In a movie we'll eventually be talking about, I've discovered that Zeus is much like a velociraptor in that he can open doors in my house.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. But we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park? That came out in 1993. What are you talking about?
And it's the only one worth watching, by the way. But Gareth Edwards, I haven't seen a lot of his movies. I've seen Godzilla and I've seen Rogue One, and I liked one of those movies.
Well, I saw Godzilla. I mean, I went out of my way to watch it because he was going to be directing Rogue One. Him directing that had been announced by that point. So like, well, I gotta go see it, see what it's all about. I mean, it wasn't an exceptional movie, but he brought a feeling of big scope to it that I kind of liked, and I think translated well to Rogue One. But we might eventually talk about Godzilla, but much like the movie that we are going to be talking about, I feel like Acts 2 and 3 are a lot stronger than 1. But I don't know. What else has Gareth Edwards done? Since Rogue One, nothing. Like he has not directed anything.
Is he involved in the Andor's and
no. The guy who came in and replaced him, in the middle of production on Rogue One, he's involved.
Let me all the reshoots.
Yeah. But I'm really surprised that he hasn't done anything in the last 5 years. Like, I think he did enough good stuff on that movie to warrant something. but nothing. And it's really, really surprising. So next item on base. Yeah, all these items were pretty much announced on August 5th, or more or less. Mark Ruffalo and Amanda Seyfried were announced as joining the cast of Now You See Me. But a month later, Isla Fisher was announced as taking the place of Seyfried. So this is a movie I haven't seen. So
I haven't seen it either. I've seen parts of it. I know the reveal at the end of the movie.
Okay.
But this is, I had no desire to see this one.
So I think I'm going to add this movie to our list
I cannot. Eisenberg. Jesse, is that Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah.
He does nothing for me.
Okay.
He's, for the most part, he is a guy that if he's in a movie, I tend to, steer clear of it. Other than I enjoyed him in Zombieland.
Yeah. What about Social Network?
I'm not a Social Network fan.
Oh, really? Okay. That's one of my favorite movies. I really dug that movie. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a sequel, given everything that's happened with Facebook in the last 10 years. So
I'm sure that they could do it, but no, I mean that's a movie did that come out? When did that come out?
Now You See Me?
No. Social Network.
2010. That was the 2010 movie.
Okay, so we're never going to talk about it. I think Andrew Garfield's fantastic in that movie. I think Andrew Garfield's a great actor. I think all the performances are great in that film. I just don't care about. Oh man, and then Armie Hammer's in that movie too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that guy.
Two of Armie Hammer. There's two of them.
Okay, and then I mean that's a trailer that dropped since we've been talking and haven't gotten to talk about that. The Death on the Nile.
Oh yeah. What's funny is like I recognized him in the trailer, but it was kind of funny. The trailer kind of goes out of its way not to show you him.
Exactly. So it's one of those movies that I think Disney's just kind of being like, it's made, we've got to put it out and at least try to recoup some of this. But curious to see how that all goes.
Yeah. All right. Next item in old Marvel news. It was announced that Game of Thrones director Greg Kirk, who directed 3 episodes of Game of Thrones, was initially tapped to direct Thor: The Dark World. That never happened. He instead directed the miniseries Great Expectations, episodes of Luck, an episode of a show called Rogue. And the last thing he directed that's been released was the 2019 movie with Chadwick Boseman, 21 Bridges. So instead of this guy, Greg Kirk, directing Thor: The Dark World, it was instead directed by another Game of Thrones director, Alan Taylor. And that was after he replaced Patty Jenkins. She left over creative differences.
That tends to happen quite a bit with Disney properties, whether it be Marvel or Star Wars.
When did Disney buy Marvel? It wasn't at this point, was it?
Yeah, it had been acquired definitely by this point because.
Oh wow, 2009. I did not realize it was that early on.
It's Star Wars that came later.
Yeah, that was 2012.
Yeah. So Iron Man had come out, Incredible Hulk had come out.
Yeah.
And then
Iron Man 2 was 2010. So I'd completely forgotten it was that early on in the whole MCU thing. But yeah, Greg Kirk was the initial director for Thor: The Dark World. And I did not know that. I did not know that there was 3 people involved in that movie at one point or another in directing it. Here's something I learned. Next item. Did you know that Steven Soderbergh was a second unit director on the first Hunger Games movie?
I did not. I've never seen the first Hunger Games movie.
Neither have I, but I don't remember ever hearing that Steven Soderbergh was a second unit director. And there's a quote from him on why he did it. Back in April, the Hunger Games director Gary Ross, who's a close friend of mine, and I've exchanged creative favors with nonstop for the last 15 years. When he got the boards for the shoot, he called me and said, "Hey, first week of August, I got these 2 days of second unit. Is there any way you can come down and help me out? Because I'd rather you have you do it than hire somebody who I don't know." Soderbergh recalled. I said, "Actually, that works out. We'll just be finishing Contagion and prepping Magic Mike. And yeah, it could be fun." So
man, Contagion, like we're just.
Yeah, that movie saw a spike back in 2020.
It's getting a little too real. All right. We're in 2022 right now. We need to stop talking about things that remind me about 2020 and being locked in my house. So
but yeah, that's a cool factoid. Very, very, very well. What would you call? I think he'd called Steven Soderbergh an auteur or something like that. But yeah, him being a second unit on a blockbuster movie like that, so that's interesting. So final old news note. Months before the Amazing Spider-Man was released. Again, this is 2011. Amazing Spider-Man was released May of 2012. Months before that movie was released, its sequel was already given a release date of May 2nd, 2014. A Sony exec to Deadline at the time said, "I think it speaks volumes about our confidence in what we are seeing on the new film and our desire to move quickly on the next installment."
I talked about this on the last one with Sony just putting so many, putting the cart in front of the horse with so many titles. I mean, I cannot even remember. I'm sure we're going to talk about it when it comes up, but how many, Sinister Six spinoffs that they had lined up. They did the exact. Universal did it with the Dark Universe. Warner Brothers did it with a lot of the DC films, and just make a good movie. I understand that you're all trying to, do what Marvel did, but make one good movie.
Yeah.
And, get your fan base and get people excited with that.
Yeah, this was actually 11 months before Amazing Spider-Man was released, because Amazing Spider-Man was July, not May of 2012.
You all will hear me praise the MCU and Kevin Feige all of the time. I love what they've given us since 2008, but they have destroyed movies, in my opinion, and just the way that studios look at everything now, because it's not just trying to make one good movie anymore. It's how can we make this into a franchise and a universe and doing all of these things. And it's just, it's going to be really interesting when we get to I think it's starting to happen now with us looking back, but seeing all these movies that are pretty much just one and dones and have all these post-credit scenes trying to, copy what Marvel is doing and be like, oh, this is what's going to be in the next one, but the movie was absolute shit. Sorry, that's, my first one. And
put a coin in the jar. Put a coin in the jar.
And it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
And we should have the Aaron swear jar, and then we should have a jar for every movie that we watched during this that led to absolutely nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
That teased something else.
Like the Dark Universe, like with they had a photo shoot with everyone that they like.
They didn't even have a photo shoot with everyone because everyone wasn't there. They all took pictures individually and then superimposed them.
All right, Aaron, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. You said this is one of your favorite trilogies of all time.
Yes.
I have, like I said, I've never seen this movie before. Last night I watched it. What are your feelings towards Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the first in the trilogy?
So
I guess we should mention like the second and third entries in this series were directed by Matt Reeves, who is directing the new Batman. He also did Cloverfield, but he did not do this movie. This was directed by Rupert Wyatt, who, looking at his IMDb page, really hasn't. He's done the only movies he had done before this was something called Subterrane in 2001, The Escapist in 2008, and since this movie came out, the only notable thing he's done was The Gambler in 2014, which was a Mark Wahlberg joint.
I absolutely love this trilogy. This is I've watched 2 and 3. I only watched Rise at the movie theater once, and then I tried to watch it again when my ex-girlfriend bought me this box set, and she couldn't get through the animal abuse in this. It just kind of rubbed her the wrong way. She didn't want to watch it anymore. So I made it about halfway through it the second time. And then upon a rewatch, I still really enjoyed it. The third act, which was a lot of what the trailer was, if you go back and watch, does really nothing for me.
Yeah.
We talked about it with Thor and other things, I'm sure, especially in this era. But the CGI is very hit and miss. When the apes are not having to do a lot of crazy motions, and they're not a ton of them, and it's just a close-up, I think it looks absolutely incredible. Weta, I believe, is who does the special effects on this, and they've gone on to do, the Avengers movies, and I think this was really laying down the groundwork for mocap.
Yeah.
Films. And
well, yeah, I remember when this first came out. Like that was kind of the thing that they kind of hung their hat on with this movie, was what Andy Serkis did with as Caesar.
And they should. I know you're not a huge Lord of the Rings guy.
No.
But when people think of Andy Serkis, they think of Gollum and how absolutely incredible that performance is. And we can go back and watch those movies, and again, the CGI doesn't hold up, but there's actually a person there, and it's it started with what Jar Jar Binks was doing in '99, having that CGI character. And I mean,
yeah,
you look at it, but I mean, it's just one of those things where they're trying things. And I remember in 2011, it looking very good. Even the shots that we might look at now, which I'm sure, you going back and you watching this for the first time, you're like, yeah, this doesn't really look that great. But with that, what it has led to in like what they did with Infinity War and Endgame, and how incredible they made Thanos look in that. And I feel like it really started here with this. And if we keep doing this and we watch, the second and third installments in this trilogy, you're just going to see that get better and better and better. But I love that. Andy Serkis's performance in this is fantastic. And I also had really low expectations for this first one, because it is a prequel to, I mean, anytime you hear prequel, for the most part, you have this preconceived notion of like, why are they doing this? They just run out of ideas. And some of the things that they do, I like a lot. And then some of it is very ham-fisted.
Yeah.
There's the bit with Draco, like, get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape. It's like, come on. Like,
yeah, made a note of that. I made a note of that. It's like, okay.
And it's
all right.
And it's also like, I cannot remember like how it goes, but they show the mission to Mars going.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's great. Like if this is a one and done, and it's just you're acknowledging the fact that this is when the people from the original are going up. Great. I love it. Then the other guy who works with, again, I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep calling him Draco, works with Draco.
Me too.
He's watching a Charlton Heston movie.
Oh, he was? Oh, okay. I missed that.
Charlton Heston movie. I'm like, that's nice. Like, that's a nice, like, little Easter egg. And then, but the get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape, is a little...
Well, I'm like, I was going to bring it up eventually, but yeah, I did like them including the mission, because I think I was sitting through the movie kind of like, are they going to ever establish that as have it had that mission already left or what? But no, okay, it's here, taken off. And I liked that they showed what was meant to be footage of astronauts, and it was specifically footage from the 60s.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so in this universe, has space technology not exactly gotten past the 60s? Is that what they're
just a little grainy, man? I mean, you have to remember, like, go back and look at your phone and pictures that they were taking back in the day in 2011. See how high quality they are. I mean, that's a video coming from outer space. So give them a break.
But like I said, I did appreciate that. There's we're using 60s footage. That movie came out in the 60s. Sue us. It's like, no, that's good. I like that.
There's also so much in this movie that I was very surprised looking back and just how well it all flowed, because they're throwing so many different things at you, and it seems it's very like organic, in my opinion.
I guess this is where we're going to start disagreeing on it. Because I made this note while watching it. Like the first 25 minutes really just feel like a lengthy, elaborate montage. It's just like thing happens, and it there's just not really. To me, it didn't feel like there was a real good flow to it.
And then it jumps to 5 years later.
Yes.
Golden. So you jump to the 5 years later point. That's what I'm talking about with, because they have to be like, okay, we're testing this ape. Some problems are happening. Okay, I'm gonna take this baby ape. But I mean, just you could literally start this movie when it says 5 years later, and you got it, with knowing that John Lithgow is dealing with like Alzheimer's or dementia, which with that, like his performance again is great. Dementia, Alzheimer's, that is absolutely terrifying. That is something that I know a bunch of people have to deal with that with family members. And so I know that can hit really close to home. That terrifies me, have like either my parents or my grandmother had it, and just dealing with that and seeing what it did to my dad, like that hit home. And I mean, this was shortly after she passed from it. And, it's in the back of my head. I thought it was kind of funny that an ape revolution starts because we're trying to find a cure to Alzheimer's, while my second favorite shark movie of all time also happens because they're trying to discover a cure to Alzheimer's. Have you never seen Deep Blue Sea?
No.
Watch Deep Blue Sea. It's got Samuel L. Jackson in it. All right.
Okay. So, like my main, like I said, I haven't seen the other 8 movies, and I know we've kind of had this discussion about prequels with Star Wars, where you say, "Oh, what you already know how it ends and all that." But I'm a Star Wars fan to start with, so I'm going to watch it anyway. But not being an Apes fan, but knowing, okay, this is the start of a trilogy that shows off how apes take over the planet. like that's not really enough for me to like want to get on the train to see
which
this.
Again is so surprising because of how well this movie did. Like, I mean, obviously, like Star Wars is this absolutely huge property.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wanted more. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is coming after Tim Burton's movie, which for the most part was a flop.
Yeah.
This is a dead franchise, which leads to a very like well done trilogy. Like I can't think of is there another prequel trilogy? It's this in Star Wars, right?
Well, Hobbit, right?
The Hobbit was written before. I mean, the Hobbit existed. What is what I'm saying? Like, there's no new material, and man, God, those movies are bad. Like, I will not. I don't know if we've discussed this, but like, I'm all about Andy Serkis and what Weta does, but dear God, do not make us watch the Hobbit movies.
Yeah. I'm not going to make you. I saw the first.
I mean,
I saw the first one.
If we ever do like a fan thing, or people like, oh, we want you to talk about the Hobbits. I'll tell you this now: they're horrible. I've seen them all one time, and that's all I want to do. I will talk about Lord of the Rings. I will watch the extended editions all day, but do not make me watch those.
Yeah. I watched the first one in theaters and was like, this is not for me. So, but that being said, what I said about not really caring is like, why would I want to watch a movie about apes taking over the world? The very first scene of this movie is a very effective way of getting you to care about the apes when they're being hunted down in the forest of whatever country that was supposed to be. It's like, okay, you got me. All right, I'm here. I get it. But still, like in a vacuum, if I'm watching this in 2011, nothing in the movie hooked me enough to make me be excited for the sequel that would come out, 3 years later.
That was my next question is what, like, so okay, so you have no interest if we weren't doing a show.
Yeah, if we weren't doing the show, I wouldn't.
But I mean, like, if we weren't doing the show, you would have after watching this one, you would have no interest in watching the second one.
Not really. Not really. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not. But there wasn't enough for me to get really emotionally invested in it. Also, it's like what's very interesting is like I kind of briefly looked at each of the movies in the series, and it's very rare. Is you get 3 entries in a trilogy, and the cast for each movie is different. Like James Franco's in this first one; he's not in the next 2. Like you got Gary Oldman in one of them. Woody
Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson in the third one. So I think that's unique. You have a different outside of Caesar. You have a very different core for each of those movies, and that's not something you see every day or very often.
You don't see it at all, to be honest. And I mean, I hadn't really thought of that, but that's another thing that's very interesting about this film and this franchise in general. I'm curious to see when we eventually get to talking about the second one and eventually the third, if your viewpoint has changed on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've watched 2 and 3. I've watched those multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
This one, again, this was only my second time watching it, and I really enjoyed it. But I think that also has to do with the fact that I know where it's going.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's like, oh yeah, we all obviously know where it's going. Apes take over, but there's so much more to it in 2 and 3 than just being like, yep, apes took over the world. Here we go.
Like, so how the second movie, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, like how long after the first one does that take place?
It's a couple of years.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Okay.
So they spoiler for the second one, like they haven't taken over. Apes haven't taken over. They can't all talk at this point or anything.
Are they just
kind of living on their own?
Are they just hanging out on that island next to the bridge? Is that it?
They've set up a commune, but the human race has been dealing with that virus.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's it wrecked us, and then it has to deal with them coming into contact with a group, which I mean they know that a group of humans.
Okay.
So they know what's going on with, they blame apes because, I mean, they saw what happened on the news, and then it's what came out afterwards. This is me giving a plot synopsis for a movie that I haven't seen in a while. But
yeah,
it's very interesting because you think that it's just like, oh, it's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Like, we're going straight to this to, Dr. Seuss. No, it's not that way, and it's a slow build. And even when we get to the third act, it's still not there. They're still not going around talking, and it's again goes back to what Andy Serkis and his driving point with this, and just how talented talented of an actor he is with this, and how incredible it is what Weta is doing as far as being able to convey like so much emotion out of, you know, CGI characters that aren't talking, and what they can do, even when it's, you know, it's not the cleanest and you can tell that it's a CGI character, but there's actually somebody there. So there's weight and they're reacting to it, and actors are being able to react to it, as opposed to other films where they're just on a green screen. There's a green screen behind them, and they're so. I don't think anybody had a mental breakdown like Ian McKellen did with The Hobbit. Doing the movie.
I've never heard that. Okay.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, you need to look up the story about Ian McKellen just absolutely like losing it on set, like crying because he's just surrounded by green screen, and he's talking about him being an actor, and this isn't what he got into acting for.
Wow, I've never heard that. I'll definitely have to do that. So one thing I found odd about this movie was James Franco. Like, first off, I'm not a James Franco fan. Like, he's not getting me to
so good, man. He's so good.
Oh, unbelievable.
So good.
James Franco's not getting me into a theater to watch a movie by himself. I think
there's been one movie that I've specifically gone to see James Franco, and it wasn't necessarily because, you know, it was because of the movie like that he got made, and that was The Disaster Artist.
Okay.
I went to go see The Disaster Artist. But how many actors are there that, hey, this actor's in this movie, I'm going to go see this for you now?
I mean,
not because it's a franchise, not because it's this, just a specific actor. Is there one?
Harrison Ford, technically, though I don't go see all of his movies in theaters. Crap. Who played Skullbones in the Captain America?
Crossbones?
Yeah, Crossbones.
I know who you're talking about.
Him. He will get me to almost watch anything he's in.
Okay. I have two. It's Nicolas Cage and it's Ryan Gosling. Those are the two.
Ryan Gosling.
Wow.
Okay.
I could say Chris Evans too, just because I enjoy his film choices. Aside from just Captain America, I really enjoyed Knives Out and Snowpiercer. So,
but the actor. Why can't I think of his name? Because I really do like him. Shoot. I can picture him. The Purge 2.
So Catherine and I are rewatching
Frank Grillo. So
we're watching SVU from the beginning. I think we're on like season 7 at this point, and he's in it at one point, and it's funny going back and watching, you know, network television from the early aughts.
Yeah,
just seeing all these like babyface actors. You know, John Bernthal was on one too. So watch
Miami Vice. Like, go watch like just the first season of Miami Vice.
Are you talking about the remake or
no? Not the movie, the TV show from the 80s, the original Miami Vice. Go watch the first season. There are so many people on that first season that will wind up being huge stars. Like Bruce Willis has a guest role on an episode, and it's
real quick with Bruce Willis because I have this conversation anytime I talk about Nicolas Cage.
Okay, that is a good comparison. That really is.
Nick Cage and Bruce Willis will pretty much do any movie if you're paying them the right amount of money.
Yeah.
The difference is Bruce Willis does not give a shit. That's two about anything. He is phoning it in. He is there for a paycheck. Nicolas Cage, every single movie that I've seen him in, is doing everything that he can and is giving everything to that performance. Yeah. I know I give you a lot of grief about Ghost Rider all of the time, but you know what?
We haven't actually shared that story on here in full yet.
One of these days we will, but I love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I don't love Ghost Rider, but I own Ghost Rider too. So Idris Elba's in that one, all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
But you know, God bless them, and God bless them both that they can both, still collect paychecks. I think the last movie I enjoyed. Oh, speaking of that, Crossbones. I cannot remember his name. You just said it.
Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo.
Yes, he was in a movie with Bruce Willis not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see it?
No.
Are you going to see it?
Hey man, if you want to get together and have drinks and watch it sometime, sure.
I'm not. It's New Year's. I'm trying not to drink. We're filming this on the 4th, and I'm currently 4 days sober.
Okay.
So
okay. All right. Like I said, Frank
We'll
Grillo.
see how long that lasts. If you're like, hey, I'm bringing beer over and we're going to watch this Bruce Willis movie, I'm like, all right, let's do this. So.
But a Frank Grillo, like, he will make me interested in anything he does. I think he elevates stuff that he's in.
Interesting. Is it because a lot of the stuff that he does is very like bottom tier? I heard really good things about the one he did with Gerard Butler recently.
Gerard Butler. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think it's called Cop Shop. Is that what it's called?
Something along those lines.
Something like that. But yeah, I do want to see that one. But did you see his Hulu movie that he did? The time loop, like was it Boss Mode or something like that?
No.
Oh, you should check it out. It's on Hulu. It's not good. The script's not great. It's not. Right. But it's a time loop movie, and when it's doing the time loop stuff, it's so much fun. It's generally funny. But outside of that, when it slows down to like do actual plot advancement, it's like not good.
Speaking of movies that are on Hulu, real quick, for Christmas, one of the gifts I got Catherine was 3 different Nicolas Cage movies.
Okay.
I got her Adventures in Willy's Wonderland, I believe is the name of it. I got her Prisoners in the Ghostland, and I got her Pig.
I want to watch Pig.
Pig is on Hulu, and we watched it recently, and it is one of my favorite movies of 2021. It is incredible. So
that's
I know we're supposed to be talking about a movie that came out in 2011, talking about a movie that came out last year. I can say that now since it's 2022. But watch Pig. It's great. Going back to Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
James Franco.
James Franco. Not necessarily James Franco. I mean, if we're going to be talking about like villains, if you want to go there, it has 2 really nice payoffs to dick characters getting killed. I mean,
I know the Malfoy death.
Yes, and then on the bridge, the head of the corporation that James Franco works for,
David Oello, is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah.
But seeing him get off when is it Copa?
I don't know. I don't know the other Apes names.
He's the one that they test on, and he just pushes him off the bridge. I was like, man, this is great. I understand with what you're saying as far as I'm going back and I'm doing my Rolodex and thinking about how the movie ends, and it's very just kind of like, it's like, oh hey, we're just
This very much feels like a movie you make in order to get to the other stuff. It's like this is a place setting movie to set up better things. That's really what it felt like. It just felt like we gotta get this done to get it done.
But the thing is that I don't necessarily know if they thought that this was going to be a trilogy.
Yeah,
because I feel like one thing that I discussed previously. It's like, just make a good movie. Just make a good movie, and we'll follow you afterwards.
Yeah.
The post-credit scene in this.
Oh, I didn't know there was one. So
it shows. Oh, okay. So did you not stay after? Okay.
No.
So
as soon as the credits started, it's like, okay, I'm done.
Okay. So the end of this movie, since you haven't seen this, and it might make you feel a little different, is the dickhead neighbor who like attacks Jean Lithgow and then Caesar attacks him.
Yeah.
You hear him talk about how it's like, I need to get to the airport now, da 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 da. And then the other scientist sneezes on him. The one who gets infected and and ends up dying. He's a pilot. Okay. So it's him going to the San Francisco International Airport.
Okay.
And he's in there, and then you just see like his nose bleeding, and then it shows all of the flights that are going out there. So it's just showing how it all got exposed.
Okay, because that was one thing I thought, like, while watching this, was like, this whole virus thing, this feels very underplayed, kind of like afterthought, which I get, like, you're setting something up,
yeah,
so you don't have to fully address it. But even watching is like, I feel like there could be some more to this to beef it up a little bit.
So I don't know where you watched it.
Just on my TV in my room.
But I mean, like, I don't. What did you watch it on? I mean, did you have to pay for it, or?
Yeah, I rented on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure if you went on YouTube, you could watch this post-credit scene.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very well done, and I feel like this movie stands on its own. Like, if it was just like, this is the one movie we made this, and then you go and I feel like you could just watch this and then go into the first movie.
Okay.
But again, that's another thing with this. It's always funny when you have prequels. It's just like, how do you watch them in order? Because it screws up everything as far as like knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, do you watch the first Planet of the Apes movie and then you watch this one? Or that's the thing that always intrigues me about prequels. But on the subject of prequels, real quick, what are some of your favorites that aren't called episodes 1, 2, and
3? At what point do you start calling Star Trek movies prequels?
That you don't at all, because oops.
Prequels, I don't. Man.
Okay, real quick on the Star Trek thing. I'm sure I'll say it real quick, but I just want to explain it. If I ever say they Star Trek themselves, it's you have this continuity, and then you spin off of something else, and you don't shit. That's my third one. That's all I can say on all of the things that came before it. So you don't, make your fan base very angry for. You can start off and do all these things. So, but prequels. What are some of your?
I'd have to like look up prequels just to like remind myself.
We talked about one of mine previously with X-Men First Class.
Oh yeah, that would be one, I guess.
So for me, off the top of my head, I'm sure I'll forget one. It's X-Men First Class, it's Underworld Rise of the Lycans, and the last Final Destination movie. Okay. Just because I didn't know that it was a prequel. They don't play it off as a prequel.
Yeah.
The one previous, they said it's the last one. And then they're like, why are they making this one? And then there's the twist at the end, and you realize it's a prequel to the first one. I was like, chef's kiss. Way to go, guys. You did it.
Does Captain America First Avenger count?
No. Neither does Captain Marvel, all right? None of that.
Okay. All right.
Well, I guess Captain Marvel could technically be a prequel. That's rough. But I don't know. Do you have any?
Not off the top of my head. Like I would need to Google.
Rogue One and Solo. There's your loophole.
Well, yeah. I mean,
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Rogue One's so good. But anyway, back to Planet of the Apes.
Mandalorian a prequel? Is the Mandalorian a prequel?
Sequel. No, that's a sequel. It takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but it came out after the sequel trilogy. So it is
this is where things get complicated.
It's a prequel to the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
So anyway, now they got to lead into this. What's happening to Grogu, man? Kylo Ren.
We'll get to Star Wars when we get back to 2022. So back to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Did you find it funny that James Franco's character is apparently in a relationship with this woman for 5 years and has this room full of research notes and displays and everything, and she apparently doesn't know what's going on at all. Whatever happens, and then there's a scene where she follows him into that room, and she's like, "Okay, explain this whole Caesar thing to me." I was like, where you been for 5 years?
Well, I mean, I'm dating a woman right now who I live with. I don't think that they were living together. And I have all of this stuff behind me. I have a room dedicated to toys, comics, and action figures. She has no idea about any of this stuff. So I completely understand that. And then it's also one of those things where I'm sure she gets the general gist of it, where he's doing it to try to take care of his father. But I mean, does she really care? In it's like it's his job. And I'm sure a lot of
it just stuck out to me. It's like, what? I would think you would know what his job is, right? So this
I mean, I'm sure, like, base layman's terms, yes, she knows what it is, but I mean, how much of it, just goes over somebody's head?
Yeah,
I know basic math, but if somebody's trying to teach me astrophysics, like that's their job as a rocket scientist, I'm not really going to be able to follow. So,
all right, the scene where the David Oyelowo's character arrives at the facility and it's being attacked, it's been infiltrated or whatever by all the apes, and there's that scene of him surrounded by apes, and then apparently like starting to chase after him, and then he runs out of the facility, and the next shot is him getting on this helicopter. No apes, like no apes anywhere.
Can't save the money, bro. Yeah, well, again, like that scene that was really marketed heavily is my least favorite part of the movie.
Oh no, dude, I was sitting there through that scene, pretty much the entire everything with them just running through the streets of San Francisco causing mayhem. I kind of laughed through the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's because I see like 2 police cruisers, 1 pet control guy.
Man, not everything has a crazy budget, all right? And I guarantee you, if there's a bridge battle scene, especially in taking place in San Francisco, it's a very hit or miss whether or not that movie's going to be good. All right, look, we got a good one here. The action scene might not have been that great,
no,
but you know what? Movie was good, as opposed to X-Men: The Last Stand, where that battle scene, probably the best part of the movie, and then they're just trying to build bridges, bro. Just trying to build bridges.
It's all right. So we talked about how Rise of the Planet of the Apes, they probably weren't sure whether it was going to be good or not, and I think that's probably part of the reason, possibly, why this got released in August, because this was still 10 years ago, a period where the summer movie season specifically started May, and more or less ended in July, and then August was kind of like leftovers. All right, this is kind of we're just putting this here. It was sort of a dumping ground at that point.
Here's a question. I mean, and it happens. It happens every year. Obviously, not the last couple because of what we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
There's always those surprises that come out with studios that hit, and obviously, this was one of them. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Daniel. If you want to pull them up, like, what was the box office on this compared to the budget? And then I know we really harped on it with Cowboys and Aliens, but what's the Rotten Tomatoes score on this one?
Hold on. Okay. Well, opening weekend, Rise of Planet of the Apes earned 54 million.
Okay.
Which in 2011 in August, that's impressive. That's I can, and it had a little bit of legs. It made 27 million the next weekend, 16 million the weekend after that.
So I think another thing, I mean, especially with a movie like this, it's nice to hear that the drop off was about half afterwards. And so it's word of mouth. It didn't, I mean, there's a lot of times where movies will come out, and especially now that, they call it the Twitter effect. It happens a lot sooner now because of the Twitter effect, but word of mouth and being like, you should watch this movie. Like it's better than, you thought it was going to be. And like we were talking about too, it's a prequel to a franchise that's pretty much dead at this point.
Yeah. Like,
so
I don't think
expectations for this.
Were people asking for this franchise at this point? That's kind of, I wish I could go back and gauge that. Were people wanting this to happen?
I don't think they were. And this wasn't a one where I believe the studio was like hired people to write a screenplay of this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the screenwriters for this film came up with the idea and went and made the pitch for it. So that's another cool thing about this movie is, it wasn't just, a project that was given to someone because, hey, it's what happens a lot now. It's why we have so many reboots and spin-offs. It's somebody being like, I want to do this. And because it was a dead property, they probably were like, sure, go for it. So, but what was the budget compared to like what it made overall?
Well, according to Box Office Mojo, the budget was $93 million, and it made, like I said, $54 million opening weekend. It went on to make domestically $176 million, and just total worldwide $481 million. So that's just a bona fide hit. So it's no shocker that we're going to do more. We're going to do more.
and another thing with this is I was watching a Hot Ones with Matt Damon, where he was talking about how movies, why the studio has gone to doing all of these remakes and trying to do these franchises, because Blu-ray and DVD and physical media is dead. Like, you could have a bomb at the box office and then recoup your money, and that industry is pretty much gone now as far as people buying physical media, so they don't take risks like they used to. But hearing that this was a $93 million movie, that's kind of crazy to me, because I think the Spider-Man movie that we were talking about was like $100 million was the budget.
I would imagine it'd be more than that. Like, probably more than that.
Go look up the budget for No Way Home.
Well, Google says 200 million, though. I don't know if that's how legitimate that number is. But that's what it says on Wikipedia, so I have no idea.
200 million. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Inflation, people. So it's a thing. No,
and to answer your other question, 82% on critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 77% audience score. So that's very good for this kind of movie that comes out, and again, in August, what was traditionally a dumping ground.
Wow. It's one of those movies that, again, it's very rare in a trilogy that the first one out the gate is the weakest, and I feel that way about this one.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoyed this, and even with its flaws, like I'm excited to see what you think of afterwards when we talk about when we watch 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I don't hate the movie. It's not bad. But it wouldn't have been enough in a vacuum where this podcast doesn't exist, for me to I guess I'll go see the other one.
Here's a question that we haven't discussed yet. Has there been a movie that we've gone back in this time machine and watched and discussed that you would want to watch again, that you could see yourself on like a weekend going and just putting it on?
Yeah, Captain America, X-Men First Class, Super 8. Yeah. Yeah. But this one, no, I don't. This is not a Sunday afternoon killing time movie for me.
Okay.
So, but I think, do you have anything else about Rise of the Planet of the Apes?
I don't, other than I'm very excited to watch 2 and 3 now after watching this. So.
All right.
I didn't watch this one with Catherine, so I'm gonna have to watch 2 and 3 by myself, and I don't know if I'm gonna wait to watch them like until we talk about it now, or if I'm gonna just be like, hey, I kind of want to watch 2 and 3 right now. So
okay.
Real quick with this, since I know when we get back to 2022, we're gonna be talking about the Batman. Andy Serkis. Is Alfred.
Yeah.
Then in the second one, we have Gary Oldman, Commissioner Gordon. So some Batman tie-ins going into the future.
Yeah. All right. So before we get back to the timeline, the time machine. The next movies we'll be doing, we got 2 consecutive double features. But the first one will be Conan the Barbarian and Fright Night. Again, this will be the second episode in a row featuring movies I haven't seen. So
I will tell you this now. Up until I watched Jupiter Ascending, so it went, The Scorpion King was the worst movie I ever saw.
Okay.
Then I watched Conan the Barbarian, and then that was the worst movie I ever saw. And then Jupiter Ascending has taken the throne. Like, Jupiter Ascending is the worst film I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And I love Channing.
All right.
But I'm very. You haven't seen any of the Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan films. So
no.
This is like your intro to Conan.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm like, oh man, I feel bad that this is your intro to this character because I grew up with this character, so I also can't wait to hear like your thoughts on this.
Well, I'm kind of glad I haven't, so I can actually judge the movie on its own merits rather than the thing that came out 30 years before.
All right.
So
well, and then what's going to be fun about this too is this is Jason Momoa playing Conan, playing this barbarian, and then in a couple episodes we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones, and his performances are so drastically different in both of these films, or film and television show, and I'm just like, God, why could you not have like played Conan like you played Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones? And then Fright Night, I love that movie. It's one of the few horror remakes. I know horror is not really like your genre.
No, horror comedies. I love horror comedies.
Okay,
so
this is definitely one of them. Have you ever seen the original?
No. So
okay, see, no, like this is. I don't know. We talked about it. I remember talking about it on the first episode where we were talking about there not being like a huge difference in our age and like movies that we grew up with. But I'm just like, I grew up with Conan.
But there's a difference in genres that we grew up.
Yeah.
So
again, you don't like that fantasy epic. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I don't know. It's very fun for me, discussing films with someone, seeing them at a different point in their life and after different things. So
but yeah, after that we'll have Goon, and You're Next.
I've seen Goon, and I did not see Goon until 2020. I actually watched that during the first wave of the pandemic, but I haven't seen You're Next. So
I think have you seen Ready or Not?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've heard good things about Ready or Not, but that's one of those films that slipped through the cracks.
Okay. I think you'll like it. I hope you like it. I've only seen it once. Like, that's a movie I saw it. Did I see it in theaters? I think I saw it in theaters and loved it. But after that, we have our one of 2 TV show episodes on Person of Interest. Have you started it yet?
No.
You okay, man? New year.
It's after Christmas, and I had my future in-laws in town from last Wednesday through, or I'm sorry, the Wednesday before Christmas to the Wednesday after Christmas. So I was doing that. And then, this is called catching up, and I haven't talked about it yet. I proposed to my girlfriend, now fiance, on New Year's.
Yep. Congratulations.
So, thank you. That's another thing that happened. So it's been a busy couple of days. So I'm getting ready to start it, and I'm looking forward to seeing Jesus Christ as Batman.
Basically. So, but yeah, those are what our next 3 episodes should be, pending, I don't know, something weird. But yeah. All right. Back in the time machine, Aaron.
Can we stay here? Can we stay in 2011? I mean, Honestly, I don't exactly know how 2021 is going to be panning out.
But,
wait, if since we're here, can we tell us to like invest in Bitcoin right now, or like does that
no Zoom?
Invest we won't have Zoom. A podcast.
Invest in Zoom. So that's the thing. So, but now we can't disturb the timeline, Aaron. All right. We can't. All right. Or it'll skewer.
All right.
So all right. Back in the time machine.
You're driving.
All right. Oh, I gotta put gas in it. Hold on. All right. Back in the time machine we go.